Alright, so welcome to a new one on this channel, and on this occasion is the Supermassive. So this is not a review, it's a deep dive guide about this plugin. Now everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. So if you like this guide, please like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can just go to the links at the description. So the main idea of this plugin is to get massive, lush, big and crazy sounds, or you can get, mild delays with a little bit of reverb. So right here in the main panel, we have all the controls available, but the thing is that the main power, the real power of this plugin is the modes. Now the controls will behave a little bit differently depending on which mode you're standing. So you can do a little bit of feedback, maybe a little bit of density, and a little bit of warp, and this is going to sound one way on the first mode, let's say, and then if you change modes, it's going to sound completely different. So since this is a deep dive, we're going to talk about all the different controls, and then we will go through each of the modes, yes, one by one. So this, deep dive, it's just Supermassive. So first, let's start right here. We need to learn all the controls, and remember again, they will change, but the main idea of the controls is still going to be the same. So right here, you have your mix right there, right? You can turn it off, or you can turn it on from here. And the idea of the mix is that you can play something, and this is just pretty obvious. If you go all the way to 0, you get no delay, no effect. So you only get the dry signal, and as you go up, you're going to be blending the dry with the wet. If you go all the way up, you're just going to be getting mostly, the whole plugin, the delay signal. Nothing of the dry, right? So pretty understandable, pretty classic control. Now the width, it's not so obvious. So 100% is going to be stereo, right? So if I play something, maybe a chord, something like that, we can see right there on the vector scope, it's just pretty stereo. And I'm using a mono synthesizer. So this is actually making the plugin, Supermassive is making everything stereo. So 100% is going to be full stereo. If I go to the 0%, this is going to be mono. If I double click it, it will always go to stereo, but getting closer to 0 is going to be mono. So if I play something, everything is going to be at center. And I know all of this is just pretty obvious, but what are the negative values? So this, what we'll do, it will swap the left with the right. So if you have a delay, for example, going in the left, and then, maybe a sound that's stereo, and then goes through the Supermassive plugin, the delay, it's going to get delayed, and the left is still going to be in the left, and right is going to be in the right. But if you play it, the plugin is going to swap the left from the right. That's pretty much what it does. Right, so let's talk about the delay and then the warp. So this is going to be your main delay. I'm going to go to density all the way down, mod all the way down, and depth all the way down right here. And the warp, we're going to go all the way down. So if I play something, again, remember this is a delay. So if I play something, this will behave like a normal delay. So you can go in milliseconds, go really, short, or if you go right there, it's going to be longer. And if you move it, notice that you get that pitch detuning. Right, so pretty simple. You can go in milliseconds, or you can go right here and do node, which is going to be divisions, and use whatever tempo you have in your DAW. You can go to dotted, and you can go to triplet. Pretty obvious. I feel like I don't need to explain this. So everything on this plugin depends on something else. The modes, or the warp, or the density, or the feedback. I'm gonna go back to Gemini, which is the the first one, and I'm gonna do a little bit of warp. Now I'm gonna maybe start playing it, and I'm gonna move the warp. Now when you move the warp, at some point, notice that the repetitions are a little bit different. And I'm going to go up in the mix so we can hear more of the repetitions. So from 0 to 20%, it almost sounds like a phaser or flanger. Right? So the repetitions sound very different. As I keep going forward, or up, when I get to almost 20%, they're going to start separating a little bit more. Now from 20 to 30%, it sounds more like a chorus. Now we are just the chorus land. But the times that we have right here still, remain almost the same. And I'm going to keep going up until we get something different. I'm on 30%. And again, we are in chorus line. And notice that now the repetitions, they sound a little bit faster. Right? If I go down, it's just a little bit different, right? So they seem to be going faster. Now I'm going to keep going up and I'm going to reach the 50%, almost 50%. And now we get that. How weird, right? So this is how the warp works. First, you're going to be warping whatever you're doing right here. And the delay times and whatever mode you're selecting is going to do something very specific. You're going to go either faster or you're going to get more density on the repetitions, or it's just going to do something completely different depending on the mode. In the case of Gemini, again, we get a phaser, flanger to chorus. And then at the right here, when we get almost to 50%, we get a more dense sound. And when we go over the 50%, you start entering into the reverb type of delay, the reverb with delay. So I'm going to go feedback all the way down. And then I'm going to start again just to show you what happens right here. So we have only one repetition. Right? It's just one repetition. And we can see right there on the vector scope how it sounds. We go there, more chorus. And if I go here, notice that we get like more repetitions, right? It's just a little bit weird. So this is because of this mode. It says single echoes, but it says high density. So when we play it, we get like more repetitions in the back. And if I keep going up, it's gonna just get more dense, and more dense. Right? Now the warp listens to the mode and the feedback, of course, but also listens to whatever we are doing with the delay time. Like I told before, everything depends on what, all the controls depends on the previous one, and this depends on this, and this depends on this. So it's a, a little bit weird plugging, but once you get the idea, it's just super fun. I'm going to go up on the delay times, almost like, I don't know, 1 second. So if I play it now and maybe at 50%, we can hear the repetitions in the back. So this is what it does behind the scenes. Now, since I'm using 1 second of in delay times because it's a lot, we can just hear what's going on right there at the back. And it's going to get, it's going to start shifting as we go up. Now, this one, the Gemini, it's, if I go there, it says single echoes, plural, and it says high density. And this is what we get if I go, to 1 millisecond and no feedback. So if I go to the second one, the Hydra, and I do the same, I'm just going to play one key, and I'm playing only one key. I'm going to play it, and that's what we get, something completely different. I'm going to play it, and after a second, it's going to go right and then left. So yeah, depending on the time, on the mode that you have, the warp is going to work differently, the delay times are going to work differently, the feedback might work differently, and the density as well. So this is why I'm just showing you a little bit what the controls can do, but it really, the power of this plugin is the different modes, and it's knowing what to expect from each mode. So one more thing, if you go up on the feedback, I'm going to go and use I'm going to go back to the Gemini. So I'm going to go up on the feedback, and this is just not going to go super crazy, but it will be high on feedback. If at some point this becomes uncontrollable, you can clear the buffer. This is just going to kill whatever you have right there. So this is why we get this button. This plugin can go really crazy in terms of feedback and delay and everything else. So it could become a little bit uncontrollable at some times when you're just exploring different sounds. So when you want to kill it, if you must, you just do clear and that's all. Okay, so back to 300, I'm going to go to warp around, I don't know, 12, something like that, 14, and I'm going to go maybe down on the feedback, and for now, no density. So we need to talk about the feedback and the density, maybe warp all the way down. So the feedback works as a standard feedback control, right? We just play something and it's just gonna add repetitions and it's gonna go longer and longer and longer. And the thing is that sometimes the feedback works differently depending on the mode. And I know I've said it a million times, but this is how the plugin works. Everything is gonna change depending on the mode. So right now on the Gemini, it works like a standard feedback, right? Just works as very standard. But if I go to other mode, for example, let's clear, and I'm gonna go to the Centaurus. So I'm gonna do a little bit of warp right here, maybe 12, down on the density, and notice that the mod rate and the depth is all the way down. So on the feedback, I'm gonna go all the way down, and I'm gonna be playing a chord. As soon as I play it, this is gonna take some time to kick in. And we are using 300 milliseconds, which is not a lot. And this is what this Centaurus is going to do. It has a slowly, it's going to slowly fade in and slowly fade out. Now, the thing is that the Centaurus, it listens to the feedback to adjust the envelope. It's going to, instead of slowly fading in or slowly fading out, depending on the feedback, it's going to shorten the times. So for example, if I go up on the feedback and I play it, notice how different it is. Now it has a faster attack, so it will shorten the times of the attack. So the feedback depends on the mode. In this case, on the Centaurus, if I keep going up, we're gonna get faster attack and more modulation, more repetitions, and it starts a lot earlier. And I keep going up, it's gonna be a shorter attack. And let me just clear and play again. Right? It's just kind of playing instantly. If I go down to lower values, I'm gonna clear and just do the same. It's very slow, right? It's just slowly fade in and then fade out. So this is what I'm telling you. All the controls depends on the mode. So the main vibe of the controls still remains the same, but we need to learn the modes. So we're going to talk about all of them in a minute. Now we need to talk about the density. This is a very important control. So maybe I'm going to go 50% and I'm going to go back to the Gemini one, the first one. And this is like a very smooth one, like the most normal one. So warp is going to be all the way down. We're still going to do around 300 milliseconds. And I'm going to go to width of 50 something percent, something like that. Now, if I play something, it's going to sound like a standard delay. Right? Okay. Right now, the density is all the way down, and the idea of the density is to make it big, make it dense, so it's going to make it move around. I'm going to go up on the feedback, on the density, and I'm going to go all the way up, and we're going to notice the difference right away. So if I play it, notice how different it sounds. And if you take a look at the vector scope, I want you to look instead of listen. If you can listen, just better. But right there on the vector scope, it's just telling us what it's doing. I'm going to be playing a chord, and it's moving the repetitions to the left, to the right, to the center, but not only with panning, it's also playing with the strength of the echo, the intensity of the echo. So this is what the density is going to do. It's going to give us this movement. Using it like this with, feedback and no warp and maybe no mode, maybe just the simplest mode, it's not super interesting. Now this becomes a real cool tool when you start warping or maybe doing something else. So for example, in this case, if I go more feedback, I do maybe a little bit, for now I'm going to leave the mod off. I'm going to go warp. Now remember, when we go over 50% of warp, we enter to the reverb, more diffused sound, right? So if I play it now, that is how it sounds, completely different. If I go down on the intensity and I play it again, we can hear the movement, right? So this is what this mode and the warp and the feedback is doing naturally. So the density is just like kind of a blending and compressing and just making everything glue. If I go all the way up, right? So, in conclusion, the density will help you to add some movement, and if you want to enter to the lush type of delay plus reverb type of sounds, the density, it's your best tool. Now, all of this again depends on the mode. If I go to Hydra, and let me just play it again so you can remember how it sounds. Right? I'm gonna go to the Hydra and I'm gonna do it again. Notice how different it sounds. Moves a lot more, and it's because of the mode. This one is a very simple one, and this one is just a little bit more complex. So we get more movements with the density. Now if I clear and go all the way down to the density, it's gonna sound effing weird. It sounds cool, but it's just not that vibe, that lush reverb with movement. Just to have something completely different. If I go up on the intensity, so again, the density, it's your best friend if you want to make bigger sounds, lush, and just make the sound and the echoes diffuse a little bit more. If you want to, let's say you want to, instead of getting a reverb type of sound with delay plus reverb, maybe lush reverb, and you go down on the warp, if you go all the way down in the density, you are standing on the delay type of, sound. And all the different modes will give you this different vibe with the delay. but going up on the density, you change the vibe completely, right? It's still the movement and everything else, the repetition stays the same, but it just sounds different. It has a different vibe. Right, so I'm gonna go to maybe 500 milliseconds, and I'm gonna show you how the mod works. It's gonna be very simple, and with this plugin, all the different controls. I'm gonna go all the way down. All the different controls depend on the mode. We already talked about that a million times, but the mod is just very simple. It's just a very simple implementation. So this is what it does. It's going to do a little bit of pitch modulation. Now the rate is gonna be how fast you do this modulation, and if I go up in rate, it's gonna go in hertz. Right, you cannot sync it. But if I go up and going, I don't know, something like that, one hertz. So if I play it, we get pretty much the same, right? And I'm gonna stand on the Gemini for now, not the Hydra. I'm gonna play it again. Nothing happens. It's just completely the same. Now, the thing is that you need to provide some depth because behind the scene, there is a sine wave modulating the pitch. So if you do no depth, you're doing no modulation. So this is going to provide the modulation. And for now, I'm just going to go somehow aggressive, maybe 50-something%. If I play it, now we can hear a little bit more modulation. Now, if I play a chord and just, hold it, and I move the rate, and I'm going to go up in depth. Now we can really hear the movement, right? I'm going to go slower. Yeah. If I go up, it's going to go faster. And notice how when we go faster, since everything is just faster, it's going to narrow your image. In this case, because I'm holding the keys as well, but if you go slower, it's like adding a tiny bit of vibrato with your pitch. Which is not vibrato, it's just pitch modulation, but, you get the idea. So, now this one, it's not, I wouldn't say it's on the delay, tape delay type of things. If you want that type of modulation, the one that you get with a tape delay, just use a tape delay. Well, Valhalla, they have a very good plugin for that. This is more on the chorus ensemble side of things. So finally, you have the EQ, and on this one, we don't need to do a lot of talking. It's just an EQ. It's going to cut the high frequencies. So if we are playing something, I'm going to be holding the keys. We can see the spectrum right there. I'm going to be cutting the high frequencies, and right there is just telling you where it's cutting. Now, it's a 6 dB per octave, so it's not super aggressive. I'm going to keep cutting, and at some point, notice it's cutting, but there's something else going on. Notice it sounds louder. And it's because the EQ, the low pass and the high pass, they work on the process sound, not on the original one. So if I go all the way up on the mix, we can really hear this. We are only seeing and listening to the delay, right? Not the dry signal. So I'm going to start cutting and play it again. Notice it goes really dark, but it's very subtle. You need to really go up or maybe play higher keys. There we go. We can see it now. Now it's a very mild cut. It's not super aggressive. So the same thing is going to be for the lows. If I play, I'm going to play something lower. I'm going to go lower. I'm going to start chopping. And this is going to, just shape or just go down on the lower frequencies. Again, just a low cut and a high cut. Now, if you're wondering if this is pre or post, the EQ is post. So this wouldn't be a deep dive guide if I skip this section, the modes, because this is the most important part of the plugin. So, and I understand this is a little bit long because we have a lot of modes and they do different things. So I need to do some explaining. Now, whenever you select a mode, you get a very short description right here at the bottom. The thing is that sometimes it's just not enough, right? You maybe go to, I don't know, I'm going to go to Triangulum. And right here is going to tell you long reverb, very long. Repeating echoes, what the F? I kind of understand, but I just don't really know. So you have a longer explanation on the manual, but still, don't worry. We're going to go one by one, and I'm going to give you a short description of what this does and an example. So you need to watch the whole video today because there's a lot of information. Maybe today you can watch the Gemini and the Hydra, and maybe tomorrow you can learn what the Centaurus and the Sagittarius will do, for example. That's why I time code and split the video, the guide, in sections. Okay, so let's talk about the first mode. It's going to be the Gemini. Now, this one is the most standard of them all. So we could use this as a quick, simple delay, or we can take it to the reverb world. So we already kind of used it already. So we are 50% feedback, mix 50%. I'm doing no mod because this is going to confuse you a little bit. And the density, for now, it's going to be all the way down. As soon as I play it, it sounds like a normal standard delay. And so if I keep going up, we enter, and we already talked about this, to the phaser type of world. And if we keep going up, we're going to enter to the coarse type of world. And as we keep going up, it's going to get more dense. That's why when you go to this mode, you select it, it's a single echoes high density. It's just going to get more dense. And as I keep going up, it's going to do the same. Even if we go slower, it's going to be pretty dense. Now, since we can hear now what it's doing behind the scenes because we have slower time, you can go up in the density, and when you do that, you enter to the reverb type of thing, or the reverb world. Going up in warp, let's see what we get. So in this case, maybe I'm gonna go slower on the decay, on the delay. Again, this is, what we get. Now, sometimes, again, the Gemini is like the normal one. And I'm always going to go back when we take a look at the other ones to the Gemini because this one is super simple. When you select some of the modes, they will give you again the description right here. And sometimes it's going to say that this mode has a slow attack or a quick attack or maybe a long decay or an exponential decay. So what the F this means, right? So I'm going to go all the way down in density, all the way down in warp, and I'm just going to go to standard, right? So as soon as I play it, we're going to get the repetitions. I'm going to go maybe a little bit of feedback. I'm going to be playing it, and as soon as I play it, the delay kicks in, and we get, the repetitions. But this means quick attack, because as soon as I play, how the repetitions go up in volume and how they introduce is super quick. I play it, and then I get the repetitions, right? I play one, and I'm playing just, a chord. Just we get the repetitions right away. So this is a quick attack. If it was a slow attack, as soon as I play, the repetitions will fade in. And then we need to talk about the decay. So the decay is going to be how the repetitions will fade out. Now, in the case of the Gemini, this one has a quick attack and an exponential decay. So as soon as I play it, we are going to get the repetitions, and how it goes out or it fades out is going to be very smooth, exponential, right? That's why this one is the normal one, the normal mode. To slowly fade out. Some other modes will have a long decay, so it will take a long time for the repetitions to die. Some other modes will be slow with the attack, so as soon as we play them, it will take them a little bit of time to give us the repetitions because they will fade in. So whenever you see something that says slow attack or a quick attack or slow attack or a slow decay or exponential decay, it's talking about how the repetitions will appear. All right, so let's talk about the Hydra. So this one has a fast attack, just like the Gemini, but the decay is going to be exponential, but exponential long. And I'm going to do something simple like, I don't know, maybe 300, 400-ish, something like that. And then I'm maybe going to do no warp. I'm going to do a little bit of feedback and no density. So as soon as I play it, we get the repetitions. And notice this time, it takes a long time to die. So the repetitions, the decay, it's long. This is the main difference with the Gemini. If I do the same, if I clear and do the same thing with the Gemini, as soon as I play it, it's going to give us the repetitions, and then it's going to quickly go down. If I clear and do the same with the Hydra, it's going to take a long time. And notice that there is another thing going on with the repetitions. As soon as the repetitions go, the evens are softer. I'm going to play it again, just do clear, And I want you to watch the spectrum. Some when the repetitions kick in, some of them are going to be high on gain and then or amplitude, and some other ones are going to be softer and then up and down, up and down. This is like the main vibe of this mode. I'm going to play it. Notice that we get almost like an accent. Yeah, so this is what this mode is going to be doing. It's going to be giving us this movement, and on top is just going to be super long. Now, maybe you're wondering, why do we want this, sometimes it's going to be louder, sometimes it's going to be softer. Well, all of this is going to help you to create movement. And this is like the main vibe of this plugin, to create super massive sounds. And when you're talking about super massive sounds, movements is king. So if I, do something simple, maybe go to 300, and I'm going to go warp all the way up. I'm going to do a little bit more feedback, and I'm going to go density up. As soon as I do it, it's going to sound completely different, right? Just completely different. The warp is just helping us to go faster, right? In this case, we get slower movement, but as we go up, it's just going to give us more, right? And the density is like the glue that makes everything sounds like a reverb, right? I'm going to go all the way up in density and play it again, right? So pretty cool. And right now we are using no modulation. So sometimes the modulation will help the sound to get bigger. Depends on how much depth and how fast you're going. It's just gonna, help you to get this coarse ensemble type of movement. I'm gonna keep the same settings. I'm gonna be going to the Gemini. I'm gonna be playing. Notice how different it sounds. And if I go to the Hydra, we get a longer decay. So it's way different. We get a lot of movement. And all the modes are like this. They give you something very specific. That's why, I'm recording this guide. So you can just maybe someday want to use it. And maybe you don't know what the Andromeda, for example, it will do. You just can come back, take a look, and then keep working. So let's talk about the Centaurus. Mod all the way down, no density, feedback 20%, and warp all the way down. So the Centaurus has a slow attack, and we already talked about this. Gave you an example a little while ago. So this one has a slow attack. The repetitions will hang or sustain a little bit at the top, and then the decay is going to be really fast. And I'm gonna play a chord, and we're gonna try to listen to this. So this is what it does. I'm going to be playing it. The repetitions will slowly fade in. They slowly enter. And I'm going to do less feedback, something like that. So the slowly fade in is going to sustain at the top a little bit. And then it's going to decay fast. I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1. It's entering slowly, staying at the top, and then decaying fast. So this is what this mode will give you. Now remember that this mode plays with the feedback. The feedback is going to control how slow or how fast is going to be that that repetition. So if I go feedback all the way down, I'm going to be playing this. It's going to be very slow. If I do something like 5-8%, notice the difference. You get that sustain and that fast decay, but slow attack. Now, as we go up on the feedback, the attack is going to be faster. So I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1. As soon as I play it, we get it, right? So it's not a slow attack anymore. It's going to sustain right there at the top, and then it's going to decay. Now, notice that the decay is a little bit slower now, right? It's not so fast. When we are on a slow feedback or maybe a short feedback. And if I keep going up, it's going to get, more obvious. Faster attack. It's going to sustain and slowly kind of a fade out. And it's taking a long time. Now, if we add a little bit of density, it's going to make everything better. And I go up on warp, we can get... You can get really cool sounds, but you cannot argue that this Centaurus is not so, maybe so different from Gemini and Hydra when we are going up on feedback, right? It's just pretty close. I would say pretty close, but, similar. Now, the cool thing about Centaurus is that when you go down in feedback, and this is just my opinion, because when you play it, the sound is like introducing and then going up and then going down. So you get something very specific. Right? So the other ones are just, you know, they give you that, but this one, the main thing this gives you is this slowly introduction and the fast decay. And you can adjust it, of course, going up on the feedback. You're still gonna get something cool, right? Now, I'm gonna stay on 50% and go feedback. I'm gonna go faster and density all the way up. As soon as I play it, notice it's very long, right? It's just super long. Now, we already discussed that the warp will also play with the delay times. So right now we are at 50%. If I do less, we get, you know, that movement. We are out of the reverb type of world. If I go up, we get closer to the reverb, lush type of sound. But with this mode, as soon as I go up, the times are going to be short. So I'm going to be playing now. And notice the sound decays a little bit faster. I'm going to go up in warp and it's going to be very obvious. Notice it's super fast. It decays fast. The movements is just way faster, but the decay is even faster. I wouldn't say even faster, but it's just super fast in comparison with 50%. If I do this, it's going to take a long time to die, but not on warp 100%. Just going to die right away. So if you like what it's doing right here, but maybe you don't like that it's super short, I mean the decay, you can go up on the delay times. Remember the warp works with the delay time. So if you make it longer, it's going to be a little bit longer. Maybe I can go to, I don't know, something super long. And you get something again completely different. Right? So notice how a tiny little change, like the delay, or maybe going warp from 50 to 100, or maybe even closer to 90, and the feedback and the density is just gonna change the whole sound. So let's talk about this mode. Now, this one, it has the same idea than Centaurus, but the times are different. If you remember, the Centaurus is like a slow attack and then a fast decay. Now, this one has this even slower attack, and the decay is the same as the attack, and it will not sustain as Centaurus. Now, let me just dial some controls so we can hear this in motion. I'm going to do something about 50%. And then, I don't know, something that sounds cool, and maybe a little bit of density, always keeping the mod and the depth down, because right now we don't need to use them. So I'm going to be playing something. Yeah, that's what it does. I'm going to be playing again in 3, 2, 1. Yep, there you go. It goes up and then goes down, and it will not sustain at the top. If I do the same thing with Centaurus, it's going to be a little bit different. So notice it's faster, and it's sustaining a little bit at the top. The other one is not. It's just going slowly up and fades out. So, but this one, since it's a variation of Centaurus, keeps the same idea with the feedback. As we go up on the feedback, the times are going to change. The attack is going to be faster, but the decay is going to be slower. So I'm going to be going up on the feedback, and I'm going to be playing something. It has a faster attack and a slow decay. Going to slowly fade out. Right? I keep going up on the feedback, and now it's going to be even faster. Faster attack, and again, long decay. The decay is really slow. And I'm playing all these short notes so we can listen what the delay is doing. I'm going to keep going up on the feedback, and let's see what this does. It's going to take a long time to die. Really fast attack and very slow decay. Going to go all the way 100%. And maybe, just to make it fun, I'm going to go density all the way up. I'm going to play it. And that's what it does. It's going to take a long time to die. And just like this in Taurus, if you go to less warp, it's going to affect the times. and we're gonna hear the movement a lot more. Alright, gonna go down. Oh, let me make it clear and play it again. Alright, so now we enter into the delay type of sound, more than reverb with delay. Alright, but still, it's really long. It's taking a long time to die. So this one, again, is a variation of the Centaurus. And this is going to make the different modes a little bit easier to learn. Because when we know Centaurus, and then we just talk about the differences about the Sagittarius, since we know that this one is a variation, it's just a little bit easier to understand, right? So all the other modes, some of them, they share some DNA. Right, so the Great Annihilator, what a cool name. Now, this one is a variation of Centaurus. It's a slow-ish attack, just like Centaurus, but it has a long decay. That's the main difference from Centaurus. It has a long decay. Now, I'm gonna maybe keep it under 300. I'm gonna go to warp about 70%, something like that. But I'm gonna keep the feedback almost like in the 20s, 17, something like that. And the density almost to the 70s. So I'm going to be playing the chord right now. Let me just bring the keyboard. This is what it will do. Have a slowish attack. Is that when I play it, then it drums up, stays right there at the top, and then decays. Now, since this one is a variation of Centaurus, if I go to Centaurus and I do the same thing, it sounds pretty much the same. It's just pretty much the same. Now, the main difference with the Great Annihilator is that Annihilator, that's the the correct pronunciation, I guess, is the decay when we go up on feedback is a long decay. So I'm gonna go up on the feedback around something like that, 80%, and if I play it now, we get that. All right, so it's gonna stay there forever. Really cool sounds. Now, if I clear and do the same thing on the Centaurus, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be pretty similar, but just shorter. Right? Just super short in comparison. So I'm gonna go back to the Great Annihilator, and the idea of this one is to get long shimmerish type of lush type of reverbs or delays. If I play it again, we're gonna get that. But again, if you go aggressively, you gotta go really aggressive and up on the warp, you're gonna get that shimmer type of sound. Now, and I'm not using the mod. If I use the mod, it's gonna make it a bit more obvious because it's gonna make it move, and it's gonna be just a little bit better, in my opinion. I love that sound. Alright, so really cool sounds. So since the Great Annihilator is a variation of Centaurus, Andromeda is a variation of Sagittarius. It's the same concept, and sounds almost the same when we use it on low feedback. I'm going to go down on the feedback around 18, and density I'm going to keep it around 70, and no modulation for now. So if I play it, I'm going to be, just going to play a chord. This is a very slow attack, and then it has some movement up and down, and then decays. Now, at the end of the decay, when the sound goes down or goes off, you can hear that there's something going on right there. So this is the main vibe of Andromeda. It just gives you this very long decay. So as I go up on the feedback, it's just going to give us that. I'm going to be playing it. Now, so that's the main vibe of this one. Going to go more density and keep the warp around maybe 80. I'm going to be doing more feedback so we can get more. I'm going to clear the buffer and play it again. It's going to stay there. Now, still, when I play it, since it has a slow attack, it's going to take some time for it to kick in. I'm going to be playing the key in 3, 2, 1. Notice it takes a little bit of time to kick in. I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. So he has a slowish attack. It's a little bit different from the other one. Right? So because with the other one, with Andromeda, as soon as we go up on the feedback, the attack is going to be a little bit shorter. Right? Still, we can go down on the decay, or we can, make it even slower, and it's going to be even slower. Right. Okay, so the previous one belonged to the reverb, shimmer-ish type of sound. Lyra leans to the echo type of sound. So we have a fast attack and a medium to long decay, but this is not the most important part of this mode. So I'm almost all the way down on the feedback, no density, no mod, no warp, and I'm staying on the 300. If I play something, we just get, just a normal delay. Nothing super special. Just simple echoes. Just very simple echoes. But there's something going on at the end. Now, I'm going to go up on the warp, right about 30%. I'm going to go up on the feedback a little bit more. Now, if I do the same and I play one single key... Oh, I made a mistake there. There's something more going on. It starts to get more movement. We start to see the difference. And I'm going to go now up on the warp. As soon as we go up, it's going to, instead of being a looper like this, maybe a little bit less, go there. I'm going to go up, and now the repetitions will just get a pattern, right? We get a kind of a pattern. If I keep playing it, and I keep going up on warp, the pattern is going to change. Notice that every time they go up, it changes a little bit. It's going to go faster, it's shorter. So it's longer when you are around 50%. Right? We can really hear the pattern right there. So I'm going to stay on the 50, around 40% of feedback. So the cool thing with this one is that you could use it as a normal echo. Right? Is an echo with a little bit spread. And then as we go up, we get a pattern. And we keep going up and we still get the pattern. But this one is going to really change when we introduce density, because this one is just going to make it huge and it's going to just diffuse everything a little bit better. So I'm going to go up on the density, and now it sounds, it takes you to the more reverb type of sound. But it's still, it's still an echo. It's not a reverb like the other ones. We don't get shimmer reverb. So this is, again, the main idea of Lyra. You get the repetitions, the patterns, and you still get, a density. But like it says right there at the bottom, Lyra is a low density. So right here, single echoes, but it says low density. So even if you go up on the density, we never get to the shimmer type of sound. It's a cool echo type of sound. Right, so Capricorn is the same concept as Lyra. So it stays more on the echo side of things, but it has more density. The Lyra has less density. So if I go here, it says right here, Lyra, low density. And if I go to Capricorn, it says single echoes, just like Lyra, but it's medium density. So if we do the same thing that we were doing on Lyra, but we keep the density up, this is going to give us, more diffusion. It's just going to be a little bit bigger. So it's going to sound a little bit bigger. So if I play a chord, it just gives us that. It's like a longer reverb, right? If I go to Lyra, it's pretty much the same, but we don't get the same density, right? And that's the main difference between Lyra and Capricorn. They're very simple to understand. If I go back to Capricorn and I warp it and I go up on the feedback and on the density, I add a little bit of mod and a little bit of depth. Maybe that's too fast. And I make it a little bit slower. We can still take it to the shimmer type of sound, but the important part with Lyra and Capricorn is that you can hear the echoes and the patterns in the back. So if you want a more shimmer diffused type of sound, maybe the previous ones like, Centaurus or the Great Annihilator or something like that is going to be a little bit better. This one is very cool to get, some echoes and a little bit of reverb. Right, so the large Magellanic cloud, and I guess that's how you pronounce this, Magellanic? I have no idea. So right there at the bottom, it says cloud, and it says long, and then it says long again, repeating echoes, long decay, and medium attack. So if you read this, you imagine that this is going to be like a cloud, really long. Well, it is, it's going to give you that, but do you need to dial it? So I'm going to keep the warp all the way down, feedback around 60, and density all the way down, no mod for now. And if I place something, it's going to be that, it's going to be slow, and it's going to be a little bit long. If I play it, yeah, I'm not playing it twice. I just played it once. And notice it's really slow. I'm gonna just clear and play a chord in 3, 2, 1. Takes a long time to kick in. Now, still, you can adjust your delay times and make this a little bit, faster if you wanted to. Right? But you really need to dial in this. This is the one where you need to use the controls. Now, right now, this one doesn't sound like a cloud or a long repeating echoes and reverb. Now, on this one, you need to do some tweaking. So going up on warp is going to make it move. If I play something, yeah, that's what it does. It's going to move all around. Right, so since it's low, of course, we can really hear the movement because it's low. If I make it slower, I can just clear and do it again, and now it's gonna, just move faster. But the going up on warp is gonna just make it move. But still, it doesn't sound like a cloud sound. So the density is the most important control for this one. We can go up on feedback just a little bit more, but if I go all the way up on density, this one, it's just gonna make it longer. And really long. Right, so this is the main vibe of this one. We can go up in the feedback, still go up on the rate just to make it move and just have a nice blend. There we go. And it keeps going and going and going and going. That's why it's just long. And it says long right here. Okay, so Triangulum, this one can be many things, and it's really, really cool. Now, I will start right here. Gonna go to nothing on the warp, feedback all the way down, no modulation, and the density all the way down. Now, all the controls that we have right here will impact the sound on a huge way. So I'm going to be playing a key in 3, 2, 1, and after a little while, it's going to give me a repetition of whatever I'm playing. And we are doing 300 milliseconds, which is very short. So we should be getting something, a lot faster. So if I play it, that's the repetition. So yeah, now this one works with the density, and I know it's a little bit weird, and it makes it sound like a looper. This is what it says on the documentation, and it's right. It's like when you're recording something with a looper pedal, and then you overdub the same sound over and over. It's just gonna start kind of playing on different places, maybe offset it from the previous take. So I'm gonna be playing the same thing, but this time I'm gonna be going up in density. I'm gonna maybe go to 50%, and if I play it. Yeah, this is what it's going to do. And take a look at the vector scope, how it's going. So this is the main vibe of Triangulum. It's going to give you this looper type of vibe. If I go up, I'm going to clear and just go more intensity. It's just going to be the same because this is what it does. Well, it's just going to kind of keep repeating everything I'm playing and just move everything on the stereo field. Right? Really cool. Okay. Right, so this is like the main function of this one. I'm going to keep it on the 70 somethings. So this is like the main function. It's going to give you this looper type of vibe. Now, if I go up on feedback, it's just going to be the same thing. It's going to keep this looper behavior, but it's going to be more dense. So I'm going to go up on the feedback and I'm going to do the same thing. Notice this, now it's a little bit more dense. I'm going to be doing a chord. Right. Let me do it again. And this time it's going to be all the way up in the feedback and all the way up in the intensity. And this is we are still not entering, we never enter the reverb type of sound. So this is what this mode will do. It's a little bit weird, but it's cool. So I can create cool sounds, especially when you go up in feedback and density. Now, I'm going to dial it down of density around 70 something and then feedback 80 something. Now, the warp is going to take it to the other side. We are not going to be using it as a looper anymore. This is going to change what this mode is doing, and it's going to take it to the delay plus looper plus reverb type of thing. So it's going to take it to the shimmer. So I'm going to be playing something, but I'm going to go up on the warp. And as soon as I do so, we're entering the shimmer type of sound. Still, keeps this looper vibe, and we can hear it right there in the background. Now, if I go up, I'm gonna go to 50%. Now, it's way different, right? Really different. It is a long decay. It's gonna last a long time, and it's a modulated type of sound, right? It's just very long and modulated reverb. Now we have a lush modulated reverb. It is a bit too long. It's super cool. And we are in 50% of the warp. What happens if I go up? I'm gonna do the same. It's gonna be even longer. And dense, of course. Right. So this is what the Triangulum will do. It will give you this looper type of thing, but if you go up on the warp, it's going to take you to the delay plus reverb shimmer type of thing. Right, so the Cirrus major or Cirrus major, whatever you want to call it, the personality on this one is the repetitions. They are a little bit odd. Let's start easy again, all the way down in feedback, all the way down in density. You know what? I'm going to go up on feedback. I'm going to do something around 70. So at the beginning, when you use this one, if the warp is all the way down, it's just going to sound very normal. I'm going to play a key in 3, 2, 1. It's just a delay, right? It's just a delay. It's nothing weird. If I do a chord, it's just gonna be a normal delay. Now, as soon as I go up on the warp, it's gonna start offsetting the repetitions. I'm gonna be playing this. Now this is a little bit wider now. Moves to the sides and to the center. Now, I'm going to clear and go up on the warp, and when we go over 30% or we enter, that realm, it's just going to start to sound a little bit different, and you can notice it right away. Notice that inconsistency? So yeah, now we start getting like a pattern, right? It's just a little bit offsetted. We don't get the same times for the repetitions. And the same thing, if we go up, it's going to get, more and more. I'm going to go maybe to 38. And now it's very noticeable. So it's inconsistent. That's the main plan. Now the thing is that with this one, if you go to 50% or over 50%, instead of getting inconsistency, you're going to be entering into the pattern territory. If I play something, right? So now it's like a pattern. If I play a chord, and it's the same thing as you go up on the warp. Gonna clear and maybe go up right there and play it again. And now you get kind of a different pattern, right? Still, same thing. If I go up, I'm gonna clear and do the same. Right? So this is what the Cirrus or Cirrus major is gonna do. Now, it sounds like a pattern, and it sounds like a pattern delay. Pretty understandable. Now, you can take it to the reverb side of things, but you need to go to the density. So I'm gonna maybe take the density all the way up, and I'm gonna keep the pattern around 70 something and 85 on the density. Now, as I play it, notice that we get a more dense sound, more like reverb sound, but we never lose the pattern. We can still hear the pattern in the background. this is what this mode it will do. It will give you this pattern type of behavior, or you can go down in that, inconsistencies and still keep, your density, but it will not go into the shimmer type of reverb, right? It's just, it's not that intense in that, in that way. So then you have the minor, and I'm gonna keep the warp around 30, maybe 25, something like that, and the feedback around 70 something, and the intensity around 70. Still, we are doing no modulation. So this one is a variation of the Cirrus or Cirrus major. The minor is just gonna be pretty much the same, but it has less density. The major is a little bit more dense, and also the major is longer and the minor is short in terms of decay. Just gonna decay faster. Now, if I do this, if I play something, it's gonna do that. Now, if I stop this and I go to the major and do the same thing, this is just pretty similar. Right. Now, if I clear, notice, just listen to how the sound decays. I'm gonna play it again. It's just decays faster. The other one is just a lot longer. It's just gonna take a lot more time to die. Just keep going. It keeps going. By this point, the minor is done. Right. Now, still, is less dense. We can go up on the warp and just get, this pattern type of behavior. I need to go to the minor right there, and I'm going to be playing a chord. And, we get the patterns and what we discussed on the major one. And going up in density is just going to make it more dense. But still, it's not as dense as the major. And this is, the idea of the minor is less dense. And this is the idea with this mode. Well, the main difference with the major is a short decay and it's less dense. Okay, so Cassiopeia or something like that. I'm going to go down on the warp, down, maybe I'm going to keep it on the 70s and down on the density. Now, this one, it's very simple, but it can be turned into something else. And think of the Cassiopeia as a variation of the Cirrus ones, or the Cirrus ones. They are nothing special, and as soon as you warp it and do something else with the density and the warp, it's just going to turn it to, just something else. So if I play a key, it's just an echo, right? Pretty simple, nothing special. Now, I'm going to clear this, and as I go up on the warp, now it's going to be a little bit wider. Notice the repetitions are wide and sparse. And I'm going to go up, I'm going to be stopping this, and go up to almost 50%. This time, I'm going to do a chord. Yeah. So this is Cassiopeia. So below 50%, we are still, on the Cirrus type of things, type of behavior. But still, you're going to start getting a pattern when you go over 30%. It's just going to go, if you go down, you do almost no pattern. But going up is going to give you a pattern. And it's going to be wide, super wide. And it's more dense, right? Okay, so if I go up on this one, on the warp to 80%, we get the same idea, but more. And faster, of course. Right. Now, this one is cool, but it could, sound a little bit better. And it's because the density for this mode is, really important. Now, when we are all the way down in density, we hear the pattern very clearly in the background, right? Now, if I go up on the density, almost, I don't know, maybe to 50%, something like that, now we're going to start to drown the pattern and we get more, more reverb, more density. And if I go all the way up on the density, I'm going to just clear and I play a chord, we get that. We get less of the pattern and more of, it's going to be a long decay. It's going to stay a long time right there. Now, notice the volume, the gain right here, the amplitude is very low. It's going to sustain, and it's going to sustain right here for a long time. And I'm not playing any keys. It's just sustaining it right here. I'm going to be playing a chord in 3, 2, 1. It's a long decay and then sustains right there. Right, so this is how Cassiopeia works. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm going to clear, and this time I'm going to go to mix 100%. So if I do something, the only thing we're going to be listening is to whatever this is processing or giving us in return. We are not listening to the keys I'm going to be playing, you know, the dry sound. As soon as I play this, notice that there's a big transient at the beginning, and then the sound starts decaying and everything starts to diffuse. So this is this mode. What this does, we get a big transient at the beginning, which is like the first echo or repetition, and then goes down and starts to, you know, diffuse. Right? So even if we go down in density, we can really notice this. I'm going to go down in density and I make a chord. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive. Since we are not drowning it is a little bit more obvious. But yeah, it's pretty aggressive at the beginning. Now you can use this as a, you know, sound effects. Depends on, all the modes have different uses. Right? So again, it's using it, it's just how to use it. It's just completely up to you. But now you know what this does. Okay, so the Orion is a variation of Cassiopeia, but it's going to be slower or maybe longer. It's just going to be longer. So let me just go down on intensity, and I'm going to keep the feedback around there. And you know what? I'm going to keep the warp around 60 something. Now, if I play something, it's trying to do the same thing as Cassiopeia. If I clear and go to the other one and play it again, Cassiopeia is doing it, but it's faster, right? But this one is slower. If I go right there to Orion and do it again, it's just slower. If I clear this and go down in the times and I play it again, it's attempting to do something like that, right? But it's much slower. And it's just, you know, it's just longer. Now, the trick with the same as Cassiopeia, I'm going to go again to 300%, is that when we go up in density, it's just going to, you know, kind of diffuse and make everything kind of super nice. So I'm going to go to 50% first. I'm going to be playing a chord and play it. Right? I'm going to go up in density and I'm going to go all the way up. And same as Cassiopeia, we get that big transient at the beginning. It doesn't matter, we are doing mix 100%. If I go mix 100%, we still get that big transient. And then everything decays and it stays right there. Right? And notice it says right here in the description, longer decays with higher density settings. So it's just going to be longer on the decay. But still, you know, it's the same vibe. We get that transient. At the beginning, it's going to sustain, and it's going to get a long decay. Pretty much the same idea. Right, so this one, Aquarius, is very standard, and this is one of the new ones. I think we got this with the update of 2.5 something. Now, what it says, if I go and select this one, it says right there, a combination of delay and reverb mode. Now, if you think about this, the whole plugin is a combination of a delay and reverb. So, okay, so we have some feedback. Density is all the way down, and the warp is all the way down. If I play something, and mix is 100%, I'm going to keep it on the 50s. I'm going to play it again. And when we play it, we just get a delay. It's just a delay. I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to go to warp 30%. We get the same thing. Warp, 60%, same thing. I'm going to go 100%, same deal. Right? So we're just not getting anything when we do warp. And it's because this mode works with the density. When we go up in density, it will start to blend or to bring this reverb, and then the warp is going to do something. If not, it's just not going to do anything. I'm going to go down on the warp, but now in this case, I'm going to go up in density up to, 50, 56, let's see. There we go. Now it's just, starting to move. So we get some movement at least, something, different. Now, when we clear the density, I'm going to clear it. The density works with the warp. And with the warp is when we take it to the reverb. So I'm going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to take it to 30%. If I play it, Now we are starting to enter, into that delay plus reverb sound. Still, we can go a little bit crazier. I'm going to go 270 and then warp. I'm going to do something like that and let's see what happens. See? If I clear and just play single notes, it's a delay with the reverb in the background. Also notice that the attack and the delays, the echoes, they have a certain motion to them. Right? It's a pretty cool thing. Now I'm gonna go up on I'm gonna clear and just go up on the warp and see what happens. Just longer, right? So yeah, so the only thing you need to be aware with this one is that the density and the warp, they work together. You could use it. Very different, right? So now it's just a little bit less of a reverb. We can hear more of the echoes, but going through a reverb. Right, so again, this one, if you don't use the density, it's just gonna be a normal echo. You need to use the density along with the warp. Okay, so Pisces is a variation of Aquarius, but it's going to be a little bit more dense. And it's one of the things I don't like about Aquarius is that it's not really dense. You cannot really go higher. Well, this one is just going to be a little bit more dense. If I keep the same settings all the way down and all the way down in density, just like the other one, it's just an echo, right? It's just an echo. But going up in density, just going to give us that movement. Now we need to use the warp in order to go dense. And I'm going to go up. And now we're going to get it. And it's just a little bit more dense. That's all. We're going to go up on the warp, just clear. Now always remember, I'm not using the mod and not using the EQ, but this will give you something. This will give you some, some magic right here. Just gonna make it wider and nicer. Just my opinion. Right? And if I go to the other one and just compare, I'm gonna... Alright, and the back to Pisces. Right? It's just a little bit more dense. That's the main difference. And like I said before, at the beginning when we started to review, to talk about all the different modes, a lot of the modes are just pretty much the same, but the variations of the previous one. So Scorpio and Libra which are the last two modes that we're gonna be discussing. And I just double checked it. The Scorpio and Libra. These ones are new, the new ones for the 2.5, not the other ones. So these ones are pretty simple, but they give you something else that the others don't give you. So I'm gonna start with feedback 70 something, 0% in the intensity, density, and 0% warp. So at the beginning, it's gonna be a normal delay. So if I play it, it's just a normal delay, but you can hear that there's something going on. Now notice how the image is gonna look. It's just pretty at center, right? So we get nothing special. Now as soon as I keep going up, now it's gonna start to move. So this one has a cross channel, and it's gonna crossfed. And as soon as I go up, we get that effect. If I keep going up, it's gonna be more obvious. And as we keep going over, we can go up, we keep going up, and we go over 30%. We start to enter in the pattern type of territory, just like the other modes. And if you go up, it's gonna be faster. Gonna be playing it again. Right? And if I keep going up, I'm going to be playing again. You get the same thing, right? Same deal. Oh, sorry for that. Right. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it around 50%. Now, one of the things that this is gonna give you, you know what? I'm gonna go all the way down. So one of the things that this is gonna give you is that the EQ now is not post. It's gonna be pre. So it will cut before going to the feedback. So if I do high and I do low, we are gonna be cutting before going to the feedback, right? So the repetitions now are a little bit different than the other ones. You're not cutting after, you're cutting before. And this is the Scorpio and Libra are the only ones that can do this. The other ones are post. So I'm gonna disable this, just go all the way up and all the way, not cutting anything, not cutting the sound. And I'm gonna go up in warp. And like we said before, when we play something, we get, this pattern, and it's gonna go big and all of that. Now, I want you to listen very closely. I'm gonna be playing 3 notes, and at some point you're gonna hear the same 3 notes again. Right? So at some point you're gonna get them. Now, of course, when you go up in warp, everything is gonna be wide, it's gonna be more dense, but still you're gonna be getting those 3 or those notes that you're playing. Right? Now, when you go up in density, now you're gonna make it more dense, so this one is just gonna drown it a little bit, and we are not gonna be able to hear, those repetitions so clearly. So I'm gonna do clear and start over. Right. So we don't get them, right? So, well, when we are at density, you're gonna lose that. If I go all the way up in density, yeah, we just make it more dense. Now, if I clear and go back to the warp and do it again. Now, since we are not getting the density from the warp, it's just more like an echo, we just get that echo sound. Now, still, this is what this mode will pretty much do. So I'm going to go up in warp. And we have, we have that. Now, since the warp, it's messing, of course, with times, and with the delay and everything else, with the repetitions. When you go all the way up in the warp, and if you're even going up in density, or no, not going up in density, this will affect the length of the repetition, so it will decay faster. So if I play it, it's just going down pretty fast. Right? So this depends on the times that you're using. If I go all the way down up in density, it's just the same thing. Right? It decays much faster, but if I make it slower, now the times are different, so it's gonna take a little bit more time. So yeah, this is what the Scorpio will do. So the Libra or Lyra or whatever you want to call it, depends on your country, is the same as Scorpio, right? It's just the same variation. It's just a variation, and it's because they were added on the 2.5 update. So we still get the cut on the high and the cut on the low, and again, this is pre, is not post, just like the Scorpio. And this one, the Libra, is pretty much the same thing, but we have a difference. The main difference is that it is slower on the attack and it's more dense. So I'm gonna maybe stand on the 300s because we've been using that. I'm gonna stand on 50% feedback, all the way up, and then see. For now, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go down. As soon as I play it, notice that it's gonna lag a little bit more. It's gonna it has a slow attack. It's not as fast as Scorpio, right? It's going to take a little bit more to show up. It's going to fade in slower. I'm going to just clear and do the same thing again. Right. Now, just like the Scorpio, you can go towards the positive side and then go up in density. And this is just going to give you a long decay. And this is, the main difference between Libra and Scorpio. Now I'm going to go up right here, just more feedback, more density, more everything. And I'm just going to be, and you know what? I'm going to be adding a little bit of rate because I like it. And something about there, if I play it, just really long, right? It's going to take a long time to die. Now, since we are going up in warp, the attack is just faster. Now, if we compare with the other one, with the sibling, it's less dense, a lot less dense. All right, so we are done. Finally, we are done. All the modes, it was like, I don't know, 13 modes, maybe a little bit more. So this plugin is just a fantastic gift from heaven. But you need to learn how to use it, and you need to remember all the different modes. Not remember, but at least, know when you select the mode and you read right here at the bottom. Now you know what it does, how it's going to react to the decay, to the feedback, how it's going to be on the attack and decay, how it's going to react to the warp and the density and everything else. So hopefully now you understand it a little bit more. Now, if you liked all this and you learned something, please like and subscribe. And if you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can. Go to the links in the description. You have links for PayPal. You have Google Thanks. You have Patreon. Maybe you want to be a 1-month patron. Just buy me a coffee that way. You can. Just go to the links in the description. All right, so see you on the next one.